My brothers and sisters in Christ, today's pre-recorded reflection comes from the dialogue of St. Catherine of Siena, picking up today in section 9. The Lord continues by saying, "These interior virtues, proved in the way I've explained, are the holy gracious works I ask of my servants. They go far beyond external actions or various bodily penances. These may be instruments of virtue, but they are not virtuous in themselves, and without the interior virtue I have described, they would hardly be pleasing to me. If a soul were to do penance without discernment, that is, if her love were centered mainly on the penance she had undertaken, it would be a hindrance to her perfection. But let her center be an affectionate love, with a holy hatred of herself, with true humility and perfect patience. And hungry desire for my honor and the salvation of souls, let her attend to those interior virtues which give proof that her will is dead, and her sensuality is continually being slain by the affection of love for virtue. She should be discerning in her penance, with her love fixed more on virtue than on the penance. For penance ought to be undertaken as a means to growth in virtue, according to the measure of one's need as well as one's capability. Otherwise, if penance becomes the foundation, it becomes a hindrance to perfection. Being done without the discerning light of the knowledge of oneself and of my goodness, it would fall short of my truth. It would be undiscerning, not loving what I most love and not hating what I most hate. For discernment is nothing else but the true knowledge a soul ought to have of herself and of me, and through this knowledge she finds her roots. It is joined to charity like an engrafted shoot. Charity, it is true, has many offshoots, like a tree with many branches. But what gives life to both a tree and its branches is its root, so long as that root is planted in the soil of humility. For humility is the governess and wet nurse of the charity into which this branch of discernment is engrafted. Now the source of humility, as I have already told you, is the soul's true knowledge of herself and of my goodness. So only when discernment is rooted in humility is it virtuous, producing life-giving fruit and willingly yielding what is due to everyone. In the first place, the soul gives glory and praise to my name for the graces and gifts she knows she has received from me, and to herself she gives what she sees herself deserving of. She knows that all that she is and every gift that she has is from me, not from herself, and to me she attributes all. In fact, she considers herself worthy of punishment for her ingratitude in the face of so many favors, and negligent in her use of the time and graces I have given her. So she repays herself with contempt and regret for her sins. Such is the work of the virtue of discernment, rooted in self-knowledge and with true humility. Without this humility, as I have said, the soul would be without discernment. For lack of discernment is set in pride, just as discernment is set in humility. A soul without discernment would, like a thief, rob me of my honor and bestow it on herself for her own glory. And what was her own doing she would blame on me, grumbling and complaining about my mysterious ways with her and with the rest of my creatures, constantly finding cause for scandal in me and in her neighbors. Not so those who have the virtue of discernment. They give what is due to me and to themselves, and then they give their neighbors what is due them. First of all, loving charity and constant humble prayer, your mutual debt, and the debt of teaching, and the example of a holy and honorable life, and the counsel and help they need for their salvation. If you have this virtue, then whatever your state in life may be, whether noble or superior or subject, all that you do for your neighbor will be done with discernment and loving charity. For discernment and charity are engrafted together and planted in the soil of that true humility which is born of self-knowledge. May God bless you all.